The following prose question is asking us for how one image presented in the passage here, part of line 37, we're going to look at that together in a sec, works for the passage as a whole. What is the reason for which we're told that stillness and quiet replaced the previous animation? Now, this is told us here in line 37. Do make sure to read a sentence before and after to figure out what's going on. This happens after looking out of doors here. Presumably it was midday and work in the fields had stopped, so the plowmen stopped working. Stillness and quiet had replaced the previous animation. The birds, we're talking about the rooks, I believe, that were mentioned earlier, taking themselves off to feed in the brooks. The horses stood still, yet the power was there all the same. The power we were talking about in the first sentence. So, people outside, looking through that window, stopped working, while the legs of the moth ear were agitating itself once more. So, why was this mentioned? That there was stillness and quiet everywhere? Why spend all of these sentences talking about how that life that had been there previously outside had stopped? Was it to create a pastoral sense of calm? Maybe. The issue with this is, I think generally, in another context, this would be the case. We have, while she's looking outside, she's looking as though she was looking for the enemy against this moth was struggling. The legs of the moth are agitating itself. This moth is struggling. It's upside down, trying to right itself, trying to get back up on its feet. Uh, and the author, instead of worrying, telling us what's going to happen to the moth, is it going to die or is it going to survive? Is it going to be able to get back up? Is it going to need help? We're looking out the window at something else. So we're ignoring the moth's plight, looking at sort of life outside. Maybe she was looking for something to blame what the moth is going through on, but definitely not calm. We have this moth struggling in the background, so we can't do that in the context of this part of the paragraph. So, to lend the narrative a sense of eeriness. Maybe. But again, if this hadn't been the case, if this moth wasn't struggling here, then this would have been very calm. It's not necessarily eerie. There's nothing spooky or anything going on out there. It's simply really strange that we're looking at a very calm, bucolic image out there, while we have this moth we were talking about so much struggling. So eeriness might not be the best word there. Paint a full or detailed picture of the scene outside. It doesn't seem like we're painting a full picture. In fact, we're mentioning the same things we mentioned before. We're just saying that they have all changed. That where there was life in all of these animals, birds, and people working, that life has now stilled. So we're only looking at one part of life outside, and the same things that had already been described before changing. So I don't know that it's a full detailed picture. It's simply that the picture that we saw before has changed in one way. So we can get rid of that. Foreshadow the moth's impending death. Well, this is the only one we're left with, and it does seem to be a nice foreshadowing sort of strategy here, in that there was a lot of life outside when you looked outside the window, and the moth was lively too. The moth was, happy. It was a symbol of life. And now when you look out the window, we see a lot of stillness, which may or may not be positive, but it's definitely not alive anymore. It's not vibrant. So we're talking about this moth maybe stopping to move, maybe giving up on agitating its legs, maybe giving its way or giving up on life itself and just letting itself die upside down. Obviously, that's not what happens, but we're at least talking about this, foreshadowing the death which does occur after the moth finally gets back up on its feet. So that makes answer choice D the best answer choice. I hope that it helped with this problem, and happy prepping.